The world's second biggest economy, China, has seen a slowdown within its manufacturing sector for February. The HSBC Purchasing Managers' Index, known as the PMI, which measures activity in smaller factories, fell to 48.5 in February. A reading above 50 is usually seen as a sign of expansion. Manufacturing is a key element of China's growth, but the data may have been affected by the Chinese New Year when many factories were shut. Despite the disappointing official PMI numbers, economists in China remain confident about the economic outlook. Well, I'm now joined in by Yannick Naud, a portfolio manager at Sturgeon Capital, to discuss the latest figures from China. Do you share that optimism about China, or do these figures actually worry you slightly?
Well, it is worrying because, reading under 50 means the economy should contract. And it's not only one data that was bad. We had the data from the government back on Saturday that were down. I think it was 8 months low as well in terms of manufacturing. We have seen better results in terms of services at 55 published today. So all in all, the picture is still pretty negative. Obviously, as you pointed out, the impact, it's still unknown, the impact of the Chinese New Year. The construction and the investment in real estate is softening, and we start to see the impact in the economy. Having said that, the government have plenty of tools at their disposal in order to strengthen the economy, and I would expect the monetary policy to be a bit more accommodative in the next few months.
Everybody's dependent, naturally, on the second biggest economy in the world. And I think lots of people look at the figures and think, are these correct, these figures? It must be a very difficult country to read in lots of ways. How do you rate the PMI index?
Well, the PMI index, it's depending country by country. It's not always the most important indicator. For example, in France, the PMIs tend to be wrong as well. But in China, all in all, because we have both HSBC numbers and the official Chinese number, and those numbers are moving in the right direction, I think the data are correct. What we need to understand in China, the economy is pretty much controlled, and the government have a lot of different levers in order to push the economy into a 7% growth or a 7.5% growth. Because I think that's the challenge today. Will the economy grow at 7% in 2014 or 7.5%?
Okay. Now, the other thing about the Chinese economy is this a rebalancing that needs to take place, doesn't it? Encouraging domestic demand rather than just the government printing money. How is that actually going at the moment?
Well, it's not great. I mean, obviously, China, most of the growth before 2008, 2009 was on export. Since 2009, it's been on investment, whatever it's infrastructure or real estate. Right now, the country has to rebalance itself to have a sustainable growth from internal consumption. And right now, we don't have a lot of sign of it. So it's still a challenge, and it will remain a challenge for 2014, I think.
OK. And how does this relative slowdown affect the prospects for emerging markets, which, again, are very dependent upon China?
Well, I mean, for emerging markets, 7% growth or 7.5% growth make a lot of difference because, obviously, the second biggest economy in the world, they do export a lot, they import a lot, both in terms of commodities, but as well in terms of manufacturing goods. So for emerging market, we will see probably this week, because there's the National People Congress, and they will decide what kind of target growth they have in mind. Therefore, they will decide if they want a very accommodative monetary policy or not in order to sustain that growth. But if they choose growth at 7% or at least less than 7.5%, it will be a negative news for most of the emerging market, and in fact, most of developed market as well.
Some people look at China and say it's fine at the moment, but when a proportion of China starts to get old, they'll become expensive, won't they, because of their one-child policy and so on. Is that a worry for the future?
I think the main worry for China right now is the competitiveness. I mean, we have seen, the growth of China was built on the fact that it was the best place to manufacture goods. Right now, in USA, for example, we have seen that the labor costs have been under control, and the cost of energy has been going down for quite a lot because of the shale oil and the shale gas, making China less competitive compared to both states and even Mexico. Therefore, China need to find a new hedge in order to export their way out of trouble. And right now, it's quite hard, it's quite difficult because people in China, they want to consume more, and they want higher wealth, individual wealth, and the government have to find a solution between the two.
So what sort of products could China actually make? Because everybody's talking about digital printing at the moment, aren't they? It's being the way forward. Is that going to be bad for them as people stop, as it were, importing from countries like China?
Personally, and it's my personal view because I don't think it's the market view right now. I think China have a lot to do in terms of services, and for most of people, China is the manufacturing place of the world. But in terms of services, and especially in terms of internet industry, China is at the forefront in a lot of sector in terms of e-commerce through Alibaba, through Tencent, through Baidu. And those companies start to expand abroad. They are a big competitor of all the Facebook, all the WhatsApp, and all those companies. And I think in the internet industry and in retail, China could be a very, very large player indeed.
Yannick Naud, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you.